Good Monday morning, and this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Penrose for SkiSoutheast.com. What a storm that was this past weekend. I told you this would be the biggest storm in years, and honestly, it lived up to expectation. Probably the biggest storm, I think, for the Southeast ski resorts since, I'd say, 2010 blizzard that moved through that area. With the amount of powder we saw over an extended period of time, and really with the cold temperatures, just sets the stage for the rest of the winter to be fine. After the miserable December, we are now looking much better. This morning, we can see that snowpack on the visible satellite image, and notice all the temperatures in the teens. It's really cold under that snowpack. But what's going on is we've actually got southwesterly winds developing today into tomorrow. So we're going to see some milder air, kind of a snow eater wind, but not super warm. We're not going to see a huge warm up like we saw in December, but we are going to watch the system back to the west head our way. And when we start looking at the European model, this is going to be kind of a mixed bag as we go into Tuesday night. This is Tuesday afternoon. Notice we've got a little bit of a wintry mix up in West Virginia, and then we go into Wednesday morning. It looks like it's going to be kind of one of those weird systems where the moisture comes in first, but the cold air tries to chase it out. But a low tries to form on that old front. And then on Thursday morning, we see another wave form and move up. And the temperatures are real marginal now, and this is kind of an iffy setup. But at some point, we might see a little bit of snow on the back side of that system. Certainly some northwest flow snow going into the weekend. So it's not all bad news, but it looks like a warm up with a little bit of rain and then ending with a little bit of snow. If we look at the European, you can see this is the snowfall. I'll go into the next weekend. We'll go into Saturday morning, and you can see the snow up in the mountains of West Virginia, Western Maryland, maybe 1 to 4 inches with maybe 1 inch down in North Carolina. So certainly not horrible news as we look ahead. But one of the things I like to look at, one of my favorite new products from the Weather Prediction Center, is the Outlook long range for winter storms. And if you go towards Friday, Thursday into Friday, there's a 10 to 30% chance of a winter storm on the East Coast again. I think it's kind of iffy and marginal, might end as a little bit of ice, but that's really that Wednesday into Thursday time frame with a little bit of milder air and some rain. Nothing like we saw in December, and certainly I wouldn't call it a January thaw yet, but after what the snow we saw, it should not have a big impact on the upcoming weekend. So if you have plans in the southeast, this deep snowpack and the temperatures only warming up a little bit, not a huge impact, but we'll keep an eye on this pattern. This pattern really flipped about the beginning of January with that nice nor'easter type storm track, and I think that storm track is going to continue into February. What I mean by that is we've had a pretty good track of lows coming out of the Gulf and then going up the East Coast, and that is always the favorable location for snow in the southeast. So as long as that track stays in place and we have enough cold air, we're going to probably see the potential for another East Coast storm sometime over the next couple of weeks. And typical in El Nino winters, this is the type of pattern we typically see where we have a very active end of the winter into March. So I would expect the active weather to continue into March. But right now, no significant storms, maybe a little storm by the end of the week, but the pattern's still very favorable for more of what we saw this past weekend. And wasn't it awesome? If you had a chance to ski or board in that snow, I'd love to hear the stories, because it is rare to have powder days like we just had this past weekend here in the southeast. Hope you have a great week, and as always, think snow. We've got a long winter ahead, and conditions could not be finer.